Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at how the LRAGL Trunks and the LRAGL Trunks and Future Gohan unit performs in Extreme Super Battle Road stages. So we'll take a look at how they do, but just to recap the unit, so in their base form they have attack and defense of 150%, and they randomly change key spheres of a certain type, excluding AGL, into AGL when there is 58% HP or more. They also have an additional defense of 58%, and a chance of performing a critical hit and reduce damage received by 8% with 5 or more key spheres obtained. They also gain an additional attack of 58%, and an additional chance of performing a critical hit and an additional damage reduction of 8% with 5 or more AGL key spheres obtained, and they launch an additional super attack if they obtain 8 or more key spheres. So overall a pretty cool and a pretty interesting passive in their base form. Obviously if you manage to transform with them you also get some additional benefits. So if you manage to transform with them or exchange them, you can exchange them obviously once you have 58% health or less starting from the 3rd turn, and once they are exchanged you will have 58%, well 258% attack and an additional 8 key from the start of turn. You will also launch an additional super attack with 8 or more key spheres obtained. You will also foresee enemy super attacks when your HP is 58% or less, and you will revive with 85% health recovered when you are KO'd. You will also, once you revive, have 58% defense along with 58% damage reduction and key of 5. So overall a pretty cool unit. So in terms of the Future Saga, or well the Future Saga Esbr, it's obviously a stage that is actually best tackled with stuns. Those are the best way to kind of take on the stage, and the main reason being is because you fight 2 enemies, then 1 enemy, then 2 enemies. So a high level of control is actually more suitable for this stage than a lot of other stages. Now the issue, well not the issue, the thing is, obviously Trunks and Future Gohan do not actually provide any form of stun. So they don't necessarily fit the exact build for this stage, but their performance overall should still be pretty good. And I think it's a lot better to test them here than maybe testing them in the, hybrid sand stage or anything like that. The nice thing about the LR is that they're not very restrictive. So even though their link set is a little bit off, their kit is fully manageable on any team. There's no category requirements or character requirements. You just simply basically have to utilize them, and that's about it. So it's still pretty damn good overall. So we'll get a good look at them here. This is a pretty decent rotation for them. The only issue is that they kind of had their AGL orbs turned into tech orbs, but they still managed to get 10 orbs in total, which is pretty good. So they're looking pretty solid overall. Defense is looking pretty decent, and we don't really have any type disadvantage attacks to take here, so we'll get a good idea of what their defense is like. They are getting a tiny bit of support, but 30k without an item is really not bad at all. And we'll see what they take with a super attack, 286. So remember, that's not bad at all, especially considering they would have greatly raised their defense on their super attack, and they will continue to raise it on additional super attacks. So they would have taken a lot less if they had been super attacked or attacked afterwards. We should see it drop down to double digits, which is pretty good. Considering there was no item utilized, it was a pretty good start defensively from them. Yeah, double digits. So they do have the 20% support from the AGL Mai, which is obviously quite helpful, but they don't really have anything else going on with it. So it's just the 20% defense and attack support from Mai. Nothing too major. I mean, 20% is not that big a buff. It's not like they're getting 50% additional defense or anything like that. So it's a pretty functional build to run. So yeah, overall a pretty strong start from them. Triple super attacks as well, which is pretty good. This is a 55% unit, so it's not really a unit, if that you can say is OP or anything like that. We don't have like a full rainbow unit or anything like that. If we did, they probably wouldn't have taken that much damage at all. The dupes really do push up their defense quite a bit. They would have probably taken single digits on the normal attacks without raising their defense, and they probably would have taken much closer to about 200k, which is honestly fine. It's pretty damn good. All of their damage reduction, etc., activates upon the super attack, so that also would have kicked in. But overall, they look pretty solid in their base form. Nothing super exceptional, but a good damage dealer with multiple super attacks. The only shame is their lack of utility specifically for this stage, but realistically it's not that big a deal. So we're going to move on to the fight against the Tech First Form Cell. Now this is a pretty good test for them because Tech First Form Cell is a single enemy, and how Extreme Suit Battle Road works is if there is one enemy or two enemies or three enemies, etc., you do tend to take more or less damage depending on how many of them that there are. So it's going to be a pretty good indication of how well they do in the second slot here. So we will use a Princess Snake just to start off, just so we can see how they do with an item. This is a 30% damage reduction item, so we should hopefully see them tank pretty well after they super attack. There are no stuns or anything, so we will at least see them take an attack. It's also important to get orbs so we can activate the full defense. But yeah, it's going to be something interesting to see. So let's just see how they do. Thankfully, they didn't get supered. If they got supered, it probably would have been a bit of an issue. I will be honest, at 55%, we may not have died, especially if it was after their super attacks. But it would definitely not have been the best case scenario. So let's see how they do here. They're going to super attack quite a few times, which is good. They get a lot of super attacks off, especially once you get the orbs, which really helps with their second slot defense. They are a second slot unit in their base form, and then when they transform, they're just generally quite a tanky unit. So that is kind of their highlight. Double digits with an item is good though, on a normal attack, especially from this tech cell. So I think that's a really good start, especially with an item. And then hopefully we'll be able to see how they can do without an item in their next turn. But so far so good. Pretty strong start by the unit and pretty good performance overall. They are quite a good unit in the second slot. I feel like it's a really good position for them, especially if they're linked up with someone like Future Gohan. Yes, they don't necessarily have the best links with Future Gohan. It's not like they're sharing 5 or 6 links, but they link relatively well enough, and it's more important that they get the orbs. And with such a tanky unit like Future Gohan in the front slot, it just allows them to get off their supers and act as a great supplementary damage dealer and a great secondary slot tank in their base form. Once they transform, it's definitely a lot easier to function with them as a multi-slot first slot tank, which is obviously fantastic for the unit. But yeah, there's definitely some work that can be done on the unit. They definitely can improve with dupes, but I think overall at 55%, they're holding up really well, which is a really good thing. So I'm really interested to see how they do. See 80k here without an item, which is a big deal, and we'll see how they do with afterwards, which is gonna be good. They will get a couple super attacks here, which is great. We're gonna get the one super attack, which greatly raises. We should then get 2 more super attacks, and after that we should take single digits. That's going to be the main goal here, is taking those single digits. It should be something we quite easily, not easily, single digits. So that's a good sign. The reason why we just want, obviously, first slot before they super is not great, but it's good to see that big difference in their performance. That big kind of like, okay, we are, not going to die here type of thing. Like, if you're in a tight bind, they'll still get the job done. Which is very good. It's good to know that, because it means that in a tight situation, if you have a 55% unit, if you have to stick them in the front slot for whatever reason, you know that, okay, we can handle the heat, basically, which is really good. We're going to stun cell and then we are going to transform them, use the exchange mechanic, and we should be able to see a pretty nice showing from them. We should see some pretty rock solid performance, and that'll be really cool to see with the unit. I think it's going to be something that's really awesome, and it's something overall that's going to be pretty rad to see the exchange mechanic, and yeah, just see how much damage they can do realistically speaking. But yeah, I think overall they've done a really wonderful job as a unit, and I think they've done an exceptional job defensively. I think the utility of their active skill is something that will be quite helpful, especially once you get it activated. I think it's something that's very useful, and it's able to assist you and your team quite a lot. A revive mechanic's always going to be good in a stage, especially with the way they can set theirs up with the 4C super attacks and everything like that. So realistically speaking, it's actually just a really good unit to give you a lot of great exterior utility beyond stunning and debuffing. But obviously in this stage specifically, stunning and debuffing's the best. So enjoy the active skill, and then we'll come back and kind of wrap things up, I think.
I want to help you fight them.
Get it. Fine, Trunks. Let's go.
Okay.
Trunks, you're humanity's last hope.
So yeah, a pretty cool active skill. Obviously, in this scenario here, we're going to have the 258% attack. We're not going to be able to have Cell attack and cause the revive skill to activate, but it is something we could utilize here. So overall, a pretty cool functionality to have, and a pretty nice active skill to use, even if it uses the Kid Trunks voice, which is obviously a little bit of a shame. Kid Trunks' voice is not really necessarily my favorite. But yeah, we're going to wrap things up here with the Dokkan attack. We'll finish off Cell, and then I don't really think we need to see anything else. Honestly speaking, seeing a unit after super attacking, yes, I know they took 80k beforehand, but seeing them able to tank single digits on normals from Cell is a pretty good sign. Especially since you can set them up nicely in the second slot by having Future Gohan in the first slot. Overall, it's just a pretty good performance by them, especially at 55%. So we're not really going to bother too much with the final stage here. There's not really more they can prove defensively, and overall their damage was just pretty good. It was just a really solid level of damage. It was really helpful. They could fire triple super attacks, which is always great. So realistically speaking, they just did a lot of good work. But that's going to be it from me, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did you enjoy how they worked, or do you think they could do a bit better, and have you used them in any stages? Otherwise, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. It always helps. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. But until then, take care, stay safe, and bye.